Hello everyone! In today's video, I want to share the story of another member of the Alexander family named Ezra Alexander, and in looking for his place of burial, I found out about the James K. Polk home site on the southern side of Charlotte. Believe it or not, I had actually never heard of this historic place, and trust me, it is tops on my list of places to revisit and learn about and then share here on this YouTube channel. Of course, just my luck, I showed up to film on a Monday and the visitor center was closed. That is fine because we will absolutely come back here at another time and dedicate a whole video just to this home site. Just beyond the visitor center is a small burial ground, which unfortunately is fenced in and was padlocked on the day that I came to visit. I found conflicting reports online about whether or not Ezra is actually buried here, and it seems like he and his wife Mary may have been reinterred here after being moved from another family burial plot a few miles away to make room for the Belt Loop 485 when it was created a few decades ago. We can't get into the cemetery, but I'm going to leave a rose here on the gate and hope that one day when we make it back, we can visit his gravesite inside. Ezra Alexander was born on February 26, 1740 in Cecil County, Maryland. His grandfather, Andrew Alexander, was an Irish immigrant who came with his 8 siblings to America in the mid-1600s. His parents, Elias and Sophia Alexander, who were first cousins, were married in Maryland in 1710. Ezra was just about the same age as the famous King George III, the King of England at the time of the American Revolution. Like so many other Scotch-Irish colonists, the family relocated to Mecklenburg County, North Carolina in the early 1750s. Ezra very likely married his neighbor's daughter, Mary Taylor Polk, who was believed by some historians to be the daughter of William Polk. If this is true, then Mary's brothers would be Colonel Thomas Polk, a very important figure in the American Revolution, and Ezekiel Polk, the grandfather of President James Knox Polk, whose homestead we are visiting right now in this video. Ezra and his family settled down in the southwestern part of the county in this area, which is called Pineville today. In the early 1770s, word about incidents such as the Boston Tea Party and the unjust actions and retaliations by the English overlords had spread among the people of Mecklenburg County, North Carolina, and the citizens, under the direction of Colonel Thomas Polk, decided to call a countywide meeting to discuss what to do. The meeting officially commenced on May 19, 1775, which was serendipitous timing. On that very evening, an express rider arrived in Charlotte and went immediately to the meeting to inform everyone about a massacre of colonists by the British at the Battle of Lexington and Concord in Massachusetts. Outraged, the committee continued their meeting on through the night and into the next day, May 20th, to draft, finalize, and sign what became known as the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence. It was signed by at least 24 and possibly as many as 27 men, including Ezra and 5 other members of the Alexander family. His first cousins, Hezekiah and John McNitt, his nephews, Adam and Charles, and his brother Abraham. Abraham served as the elected president of the Committee of Safety. This document predated the United States Declaration of Independence by well over a year. The reality of what these men had just signed began to sink in, and they knew full well that if the British found the Mecklenburg Declaration and read its contents, anyone who signed it would be subject to the laws of treason against England. They would lose their properties, their livelihoods, and their lives. 11 days later, the Mecklenburg Resolves document was created and dispatched to Philadelphia as fast as Captain James Jack could get it there on horseback. I've also done a video about Captain Jack if you're interested to hear that story. Ezra Alexander served in the Continental Army and fought at 2 major battles during the war, including Ramser's Mill on June 20, 1780, and Hanging Rock on August 6, 1780. Both battles were pivotal events towards the end of the Revolutionary War. The encounter at Ramser's Mill is best known for the fact that, while outnumbered by the Loyalists 1,300 to 400, the Patriots managed to defeat the Loyalists and significantly lower their morale. There were no British regulars at Ramsor's Mill, and only loyalists fought against patriots, literally neighbors fighting against neighbors. After the battle, the local citizens came together to bury the dead, even the fallen soldiers who had fought for the other side. During the battle at Hanging Rock, a group of American patriots stumbled onto a storage of rum in a British camp and became so drunk that they were unable to go back to the fight. But somehow, and luckily for us, the British commander lost his nerve halfway through the skirmish and deserted his command, leaving his assistant in charge. This act of cowardice turned the tide in the favor of the outnumbered patriots, who were able to rally and ultimately were victorious. After Hanging Rock, Ezra Alexander was promoted to a captain. After the war, Ezra and his wife Mary Polk led full lives and raised a family of at least 8 children named Eleanor, James, Dorcas, Abdon, Augustus, Paris, Redempta, and Pollyann. Ezra and Mary both lived considerably longer than the average American of that era. Ezra owned a large piece of property on the west bank of the Little Sugar Creek and was considered quite wealthy by the standards of the day. His country estate produced the typical agricultural crops. Ezra was appointed as an overseer of roads in 1778, and he also bought land from his father-in-law, Ezekiel Polk, in Tennessee. Ezra embraced his own form of worship and was a leading proponent of deism, a belief that a higher power created the universe but does not intervene in its existence. He and 5 others were described as the 6 Infidels, a group consisting of Ezra, his nephew Charlie Alexander, Ezekiel Polk, who was likely his father-in-law or brother-in-law, Devil Charlie Polk, and 2 other friends. These men had a library of books and writings by influential authors of the times, and they were quick to expound on these liberating ideologies. These men were either beloved or loathed by their fellow citizens, depending on their own view of religion. Much of the last 2 decades of the 18th century in North Carolina was spent debating the various aspects of religion versus idealism, and it seems to me like religion, in particular Protestantism, won the war in the end. Ezra Alexander was more or less forgotten after his death in the year 1800. His last will and testament is without the typical preamble invoking the Lord and praying for forgiveness. In a book written in 1882, recounting the post-Revolutionary War period in Mecklenburg County, neither Ezra nor Charles Alexander's final resting places were recorded, and it was even suggested that maybe they went off to Tennessee with the infidel 6 leader Ezekiel Polk, which would be a good riddance to their neighbors. Ezra and his wife Mary Taylor were in fact actually interred in the small Polk family graveyard in Pineville, North Carolina. Their gravesite was only discovered in the mid-20th century after being forgotten, hidden, and silent underneath bushes and overgrowth for almost a century and a half. Ezra's gravestone was cut by a master stone carver of the day, and it is a piece of art. I do hope to come back and see it someday. There is an emblem at the top of the stone, and it looks like a sun and a moon, and below are the names of Ezra and his wife Mary. A verse is carved that reads, "Farewell, flesh with all its woes, above to the skies to see my Father's throne."